What is Norman there?
How about
First day air conditioning.
Now we have a special tune coming up for you. Everybody. This is just about one of the nicest parties I've ever seen in my born days. It's really, really wonderful to see so many of you folks out here. And we're obviously celebrating a great event here. This is the very first ever attempt to have a reunion of our Catholic school system here in Melrose. And this turnout has really been remarkable. I'm sure all of you had an experience similar to the one I've had today, and meeting friends that you haven't seen for many, many years, and some maybe not quite so long ago, but nevertheless getting together in a spirit of recalling some of our days gone by. And we're going to have just a little short program here this evening to kind of inaugurate this weekend after that lovely, beautiful, inspiring mass service that we had earlier. I've been told that whenever you have a class reunion, that you've got to do certain things. First of all, you must recognize the person who has traveled the greatest distance to get here. And I think that's great. And I don't have the slightest idea where to begin with this. And does anyone have a... Who's got... Some of you have come from a long distance, I know that. California, okay. California, beautiful. Florida, Maryland, Chicago, great. New York, hey, yeah, it's good, too. Well, he didn't say Munich, he said New Munich. You know, anyway, I have a prize to award here tonight to the person who's come the greatest distance. Is there somebody from Alaska? You'll settle the whole thing if you're, I presume. Anybody here from Alaska? Where? Take a pardon? Maxine? Where's Maxine? Tough luck, Maxine. I'm sorry about that, Maxine. They tell me that we're going to award a prize to someone that can walk up here and accept it. And those were the rules that I was given. So, we're talking about California and Florida. Which one of those states is further from here? California is further? 4,900 miles to Los Angeles. 2,900 to Los Angeles. Whoever was from Florida, are you more than 2,900 miles from here? No, okay. All right, is anybody in Florida and in California more than 2,900 miles from here? No? Is Los Angeles, is that the furthest? Where are you from, sir? East of San Francisco. And I assume that's closer than going to Los Angeles, huh? About the same, it's further? Oh. No kidding. There's a lady here that really knows her geography. She says that San Francisco is further west than L.A. Folks, does anybody here know whether Los Angeles? Okay, which is further from here? San Francisco. Okay. Is there anybody here from San Francisco?
Everybody.
Okay. That beats L.A. That's what I'm being told? Okay. Are you further from here than San Francisco? Pardon? All right. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Come on up here. Here. From Bay Area, come up here, please. Gentlemen, I've got two prizes here. One is in a blue package and one is in a white package. Okay, here, beg pardon? Well, what I'm going to do, Don, is this. We've got one package. Well, you're going to have to walk away with one of them. If you came the farthest distance, you have to accept the prize. That's part of the way we do business here. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is this. I'll let you decide whether you like a blue color or a white color better. Which color do you like the best? Which one? Blue, you got the blue. You like the white? And that's all there's left. Thank you very much for coming all that way. That's great thing. What are those gifts? Oh, God. Say, Mr. Jim Paul, for gosh sakes, you're the son of the veterinarian that was here? Everybody knows. I suppose you're Ed Paul, huh? Ed, I've been looking for you all day. Uh-oh, yeah. Anyway, welcome, Pauls, for coming back to the reunion. It's class of 36. Okay. See, nice to see you here. And what was your name, please? Bud Meyer. I've been looking at that name all day long. Bud, what Meyer are you? CP's cousin? Yeah, oh, sure. And you went to school here? Oh, wonderful. St. Patrick. Oh, you're one of those Irish folks, huh? Yeah, Dave, for St. Pat's. Okay, great. Well, that's the material. You're here. Thanks for coming, anyway, for your being here tonight. Bud Meyer, okay. Folks, Bud Meyer here, relative of C.P. Meyer. Thank you for coming. And everybody here, I think there are a lot of you know the Paul family. And, okay. There's another, I guess, very basic principle that cannot be violated when you have a class reunion, and that is that you must recognize the oldest person in the crowd. Everybody puts their head down and says, it isn't me. No. There's someone here in our crowd tonight who is the oldest person. And not only the oldest person, but the second oldest. Talking about the oldest people, I have a list here of some of the older folks who are graduates here. And on the top of this list is John Meyer. And John Meyer happens to be my father. And my dad is 95 and a half years old. And you probably say, well, how do you know he's 95 and a half years old? And that's a very good question. The reason I know that is that the other day someone stopped in my office and said, say, Bill, I saw your dad the other day. He's 95 and a half years old. I said, what? Is he that old? He said, yeah, he's 95 and a half. And I said, a half? He said, yeah. He said, he said, I stopped in to see your dad the other day, and I said, John, how old are you? He said, 95 and a half years old. So the guy says, well, half? What's this business about 95 and a half? He said, listen, once you reach 90, you start counting in the half years. I don't know why, but I assume maybe that's true. But I know someone who's a contender here tonight for this honor. Someone who I'm sure most of you know and love, and that's Nora. Nora Saunders, Nora Timbrook, Nora Avislog. Nora, I don't know how old you are. Maybe you tell us, I don't know. Can we ask? Oh, really? Oh, for heaven's sake, I'm wrong. 95 and a half. You know, isn't that wonderful, Nora? We've got a... You know, we didn't... I'm relying on a list of names and dates and things I've got here, and I was not aware of that. And Nora, I certainly want to congratulate you. So we've got 95 and a half for Nora, and I guess I have to search out the crowd here for the second oldest. Eleanor? That's my mother. How old are you, Eleanor? She just waves and says, fast. No. How old, Eleanor? Or do you want to tell us? Mary Ellen, is she telling? How much? 92? Okay. Eleanor Meyer is 92. Do we have anyone here older than 92? Going. 1, 2, the way the auctioneer goes. Okay, if there are no other persons here older than 92 and 95 and a half, I'd like to award these gifts to Nora and Eleanor. Don, you'll deliver these? Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations, Nora and Eleanor. It's really, really wonderful that you'd come here this evening. You know, folks, as we get into the program, there's one comment I'd like to make, and that is that I was over at school during the registration today, and I noticed that since we graduated, that some of us have changed in appearance a little. In fact, you know, it's really quite interesting when you go up to someone and say, "Hi, how are you?" And they look at you like, "Do I know you?" And yeah, we went to school together. Oh, we did? They're kind of embarrassed to ask you your name. Then you tell them your name. And you know what happens then? You get a great big hug. You know, it's been a wonderful experience today, renewing these acquaintances. And, you know, folks, reunions like this are very wholesome and very good for us. And I want you to know that hugging is allowed this weekend. So please help yourself. We're all game. So if you see someone that looks like you used to know them, give them a hug and tell them who you are. And I'll tell you one thing, they'll love you for it and you'll get a hug back. I'll guarantee it. If you don't, come and see me and I'll give you a hug. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know that many of you have come from a long distance to be here. And obviously we'd like to recognize that and thank you very sincerely for coming back to Melrose to be with us for this great occasion. You know, Melrose is a kind of a bustling little city, and we're working very hard in trying to survive and to keep abreast of things. And, we've been fortunate over the years that we've always had very good medical doctors in Melrose, and we do now. And one of our medical doctors is also the mayor of the city of Melrose, and I might add, an excellent mayor. And it's really an honor for me tonight to introduce to you our mayor, Dr. Ellen Horn, who would like to officially welcome all of you folks to our wonderful reunion here. Dr. Horn, would you please come up here?
Bill, I wanted you to have at least one. And I was looking at the program, and it said Mayor Al Horn will be present. And I really didn't quite know what that meant. And so I asked Bill, I said, what does it mean that the mayor will be present? You know, I started to get kind of a big head. I thought, well, it's kind of like, you know, they get a rock star, or they get, you know, Kent Herbeck to come here. He'll be present, and everybody will show up. And he said, well, Doc, it wasn't quite that way. We thought we'd put present because if we thought we put in there that you were going to speak, no one would show up. Well, you can tell my ego went to rock bottom. So I did a little digging about Bill. You know, someone gets me, I believe firmly in getting them back. And it turns out that I learned that Bill went to medical school. I'll bet none of you knew that. Bill doesn't even know that. But anyway, he went to medical school and he was taking his first class and he had an examination. And would you know that I found a copy of that examination and his answers? And it's really kind of interesting. I'll just read a couple of these to you, and just to kind of give you a flavor of where Bill was at that stage. He had to give some definitions for these words, and the first word was artery. He said that's the study of paintings. The next one was colic, a sheepdog. a punctuation mark. Dilate, to live long. GI Series, baseball game played between teams of soldiers. Hangnail, a coat hook. Medical staff, a doctor's cane. Morbid, a higher offer. Outpatient, a person who has fainted. Tablet, a small table. Tumor, an extra pair. Urine, opposite of you're out. And varicose veins, veins which are very close together. Very close veins. Anyway, after Bill took that examination, the medical establishment decided he should be a lawyer. On a serious note, I certainly want to thank the committee for inviting me here this evening as a representative of the city of Melrose. It certainly is a privilege for me to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you who have traveled back to our community to take part in this all-school reunion. I think it goes without saying that this reunion is a very important event for our community, and I know, having been inside the church today for that service and feeling the electricity in that group, that it's a very important event for you. I'm sure that this weekend is going to give all of you an opportunity to renew old friendships, to relive a lot of memories, and to share what I'm sure is going to be some very interesting stories. But I hope that you'll take the time this weekend to also reacquaint yourselves with our community and to enjoy what Melrose has to offer. Our community has a lot of tremendous assets. We have our schools and our churches. We have our industry and our business community. We have our parks, our beautiful river. We have our medical facilities, the congregate care facility and the nursing home. The most important thing we have, though, the greatest asset, is our people. Now, in the past, all of you here at one time have been part of that asset. And I would ask that tonight you commit yourselves to being part of that asset in the future. Because the strength that you can bring to our community is always referring to Melrose as home. I'd like to borrow something from the liturgy that just kind of struck me during Mass this evening, that the fact that all of you are here with us, here in Melrose, allows each one of us, and I quote, to experience the joy of life in your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Horn. Well, we put up a lot. He's great, and he's worth it. Folks, about 2 years ago, we had a scholarship meeting, and Elsie Hellerman voiced the notion that it might be a nice idea sometime to have a reunion, an all-school reunion. Naturally, she became chairman of this whole affair. And she accepted that and went to work on it. And she had 3 or 4 committee people working with her. And after a short time, they discovered that this was a project that was going to involve a lot more people. So I think this is an ingenious way of enlarging a committee. She said, everybody bring one more person to the meeting next month. which they did. They doubled the size of their committees. And they've done an awful lot of work. They set out to get the addresses of everybody who'd ever graduated from the Catholic school system in Melrose. Just a tremendous job. Thousands of telephone calls and letters and attempts to put this thing together. And needless to say, it's a huge success. And I'd like to just mention their names, and I don't see Elsie right now, but Elsie Hellerman, for gosh sakes, please stand up. Elsie has worked so many, many hours on this project. And I'd like to mention the names of the people who have worked with her quickly. Catherine Primus, Joyce Winter, Jeanette Thielen, Sister Joseph Marie, Robert Doyle, Irma Walsh, Virginia Klepacki, Don Stahlberger, Judy Klimke, Martha Weber, Alma Herges, Mary Jane Schneider, and Myrtle Zink. These people have done a really terrific job in putting this whole project together. You notice today that we have a lot of our priests here, and I'm not sure, I don't see them right now, but I see Father Tim there. We'd like to ask some of the priests, if they wouldn't mind, to come up here and just for a second or two and greet you. Father Tim Ball, Father, would you mind coming up, please?
They told me to keep it short, and since I know the pastor has a hard time doing that, I'll reserve my time for him. Simply to say thank you very much. I enjoy being here, again to see so many wonderful people. The 3 years that I was here in Melrose were good years, and I enjoy coming back now often. Thank you.
Folks, I hope you noticed that they're twins. I do believe they're classmates. Father Art Hopping, would you mind?
Thank you. You've heard me speak this afternoon at Mass, and I was privileged to be able to say yes to Father Zimmerman when he asked if I'd have a homily. I suspect what happens is I'm the oldest graduate of St. Boniface that's as a ordained a priest. Senior Larson, of course, was here. He was associate pastor, those days known as assistant, back in November of 1933. I came to St. Boniface in 1932, here 32, 33, and graduated 34. Was at St. Patrick's at Melrose, grades 1 through 6, so lots of people I've seen and a lot of people I don't know, but I'm sure he happened to be here, and a real pleasure that I could do what I did here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father. We all enjoyed and appreciated your homily and your service very much today. This is Father Edwin Kramer now, please.
He had about 15 minutes this afternoon. I only get 2 seconds. I was here from 55 to 59, and it happened to be the time that the two parishes came together. And I was with Father Monsignor Huffman at first, and Father Julie then, when the parishes merged. And I just want to relate to you the incident that never left my mind with Father Julie. I'm sure most of you remember. He wanted to make sure that there would be no infighting in this new parish. So the name was changed to St. Mary's, and somebody donated a pretty good sum of money for a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and the question came, where are we going to put that? And so Father Julie came up with the great idea. She put the Blessed Virgin in the middle of the altar. Then on Sunday, he explained the arrangement. And he told the people, we've got St. Boniface on one side, St. Patrick on the other side, and the Blessed Virgin in the middle, and she's going to keep the peace. And she did, I think. It was nice to be back tonight and to meet some people that I haven't seen for a long time, especially some of my old Sodality people. Not old Sodality people. Sodality people. So thanks a lot for inviting me back.
Thank you very much, Father. That was certainly a memorable time and part of the history of our school system in parish here. I'm sure that tonight, while all of you were attending Mass, that you had some wonderful memories come creeping into the back of your brain and up the back of your spine, and the lofty ceilings of the church remind you of the days past, and the choir loft and the ornate altar and those beautiful church bells ringing. And being in church, you could feel the electricity there today. It was exciting, very exciting. And I'm a graduate of 1940, which means this is our golden anniversary. And I'd like to make a few comments tonight about some of the memories I have. I'll make it very short, but I want you to know that I represent a group that graduated sort of before the Second World War. And if you notice over in the school building today, we had some displays. In one classroom, there were displays showing the names of all of the graduates from the 8th grade or 9th grade. We had 9 grades here at one time. For the period up until 1959. And that's the room in which my group of people is in, the group 1959 and before. And for purposes of reference, I'll call that the senior room. The other room is where the young folks are in, and that's 1960 and afterwards. And that's a room in which Ernie Kachimba's class is in. And I think that maybe that had something to do with arranging this program for this weekend, is that I was delegated, instructed to do the program tonight for the seniors, and he gets to do the program tomorrow for the juniors. Oh, you're all invited to both programs. But anyway, all of us have many, many memories of our days at the St. Boniface, St. Patrick's school. And I always think about the time when we would be going to school the first day in fall. And we were all disappointed the summer was over with. But yet, we always had kind of butterflies in our stomach. You know, who are we going to have for a nun this year? Is she going to be tough? It's kind of depressing. How much hell am I going to get? You dragged yourself in the first day of school. You had to wash your face and comb your hair and put some clean clothes on after the summer. And it was a feeling of uncertainty. And you'd go to school, and one of the first things that you do is you get a list of all the supplies you needed. Oh, you need a lead pencil, and you need a tablet, and you need color crayons, or whatever they were. You need a compass or notebook. And then they leave school out early, and we'd all go down to Freddie Zerker's and pick up our supplies. How many of you have done that? Gone down to Zerker's drugstore and picked up your tablets, and you're darn right. And you know what was really interesting about it is usually we'd saved some money during the summer, so that when we went down there and bought these things, we did that very carefully. We wanted to make sure we had at least a couple of pennies left to get some penny candy. Because when you walked out the door, they had this beautiful array of penny candy. And I'll tell you, as a student, it was awful. I mean, in the elementary grades, it was pretty darn hard. If you had a little money to spend, now to put aside a little for that. Yeah, those are good old days. Another memory that I have that is the custom that we had, the requirement that we had, I should say, is that everybody went to Mass every day. We came to school at 7:15 or 7:30, met in the school, in the brick building, the old red brick building, and then we came over to Mass, and the nun would be behind us in our group, and in those days, the Mass was in Latin, and we used to have a lot of requiems. We'd all sing Zia Siri, Dilla Silla, and those things. The boys would be up there serving Mass, saying, make me a cowboy, make me a cowboy, make me a Mexican cowboy. We didn't understand Latin. And you couldn't even wiggle your ears, or the sister would be saying, I remember those days real well. And, when we went to school, you could not eat any food or drink any water if you wanted to go to Holy Communion. So, comes the first communion. Over in St. Mary's or St. Boniface at that time, we had drinking fountains with a whole line of spouts in a row. They'd all be covered up with a cloth, so no one would make the mistake of drinking on the day of the first communion. And we all heard the story about the poor girl that day of her first communion lifted it up and took a drink. She was so nervous and excited she forgot all about it, and she couldn't make her first communion. I don't know why that story always kind of touches me. Another incident that I remember so well was, and I think anybody that went to school in the old red brick building will remember this, that when we used to come to Mass early in winter, 7:15 or so, it'd be maybe still dark out, just getting light, snow during the night. You'd see a kind of a small, stooped figure brushing the snow off the steps, shoveling off the sidewalks, keeping everything clean. By the time you got there, it's hard to beat Julius, I'll tell you that, church in the morning. And in the school building, there was a section of the building that was no man's land but Julius's. And that's where the furnace was. And I mean, nobody got in there but Julius. We burned coal in there, and they had a big boiler in there that was bubbling hot water through the whole school system, the church and the school and everywhere. Julius worked from dawn to dusk. A great, great part of this institution. And gave a great part of his life to our parish. Folks, if I was placed on a committee to make nominations for sainthood, right now I'd move the nomination of Julius Eddy for sainthood, believe me. I think he gave an awful lot to St. Mary's and St. Boniface, to this church. A great guy. Another time that I remember so well, and I'm sure all of you do, I was talking to my dad here the other day, and you start talking about when you get your report cards. And the way we got the report cards at St. Boniface was Father came over, pastor came over. And boy, was that misery day for some people. I can remember Father Haupt had come over, and I was kind of was short. I always sat in the first seat. It seemed those priests were so tall those days. They wore long black cassocks and white collar, and then they'd have a little cap with a beanie on top, the bread. And I'd look up at him, and boy, I was very intimidated. And he'd hand out the report cards. And he'd take a card and say, he'd smile and he'd say, Victoria Lembeck. And Victoria would come up there and he'd hand her the card and smile at her. And then he'd pick up another one and say, Betty Gretsch, or Arya Buttweiler, one of these nice girls in our class. And then he'd pick up a card, he'd look at it, He'd kind of purse his lips, and then he'd shake his head. I'd put my head down. He'd say, William Meyer, how can you get a D- in penmanship? Folks, it ain't easy, but... Okay, you know, there are so many memories that I'm sure that all of you have that you're talking about and trading with friends and acquaintances tonight. But in recognizing our past history, but we all, of course, have to recognize that there's many people have been involved in this history of this parish. And I'd like to very quickly, just for the purpose of jogging your memories so that you may have other things that you may want to talk about, just mention the priests that were here at Melrose, and I'll read their names quite quickly, especially the pastors. Some of you will remember Monsignor Richter, won't you, Nora? There was Richter, Father Willenbrink, Father Kramer, Father Peter Lorson, Father Schmidt, Father Haupt, Father Shermas, Monsignor Hoffman, Father Julich, Father Lutkin, Father Raymond Lang, Father Vincent Hipsch, and Father Robert Kiefer. Those were the pastors of our church in the most recent years. I would also like to mention the names. You know, one of the fun things, and let me mention someone's name, Edwin Hession. Is Edwin here tonight? Edwin is a good writer and a good historian. And a couple of days ago, I complimented her on her good job she's done. Have any of you folks seen the articles she's had in the Melrose Beacon? Oh, aren't they wonderful? I think if you don't have them, you should get them and save them, because they are good history and they're well done. And I was asking Evelyn, I said, Evelyn, how do you put all this together? And she said, well, you write something down that you remember, and then it'll bring to your mind another item. And you write that down, and it brings another item, and you just build on that. But you gotta stop and write things down. And I can understand that. I think that really works, because as I start thinking about this reunion, I just keep thinking of all the things from our past, and I look out here and I see Melville Herrero and Amby Call and all those guys from my class, and it's just unbelievable what your brain will permit you to do to draw back on these memories. I'd like to mention, I was going to mention that these nuns, that Sister Ursula and Sister Dignata and Sister Selza and Sister Ada, it's just fun to remember, to hear their names. You know, they were such great people and so important to us, and they were a big part of our lives, of course. And I'd like to mention the names and read the names of these nuns that I have here who are so important. Sister Claire, Sister De Brito, Sister Elida, Sister Giles, Sister Jocelyn, Sister Jocille, Sister Joseph Marie, Sister Lorraine, Sister Lynette, Sister Hyacinth, and Sister Julian. We have some alumni who are nuns. There's Sister Colette Dementia, Sister Janet Kunkel, Sister Mary Regis Gardner, and Sister Viola Irene Schleck. Is Sister Viola Irene Schleck here tonight? She was? Anyway, folks, I promised I was going to make this short, and I've got another comment that I want to make, or a couple. And before I said that, if I was on the nominating committee to nominate some folks to become saints, I have some very definite notions about some nominations I would like to make. And the first person that I would nominate was a great woman, a great teacher, one of the greatest teachers I think that this state has ever seen, maybe the nation has ever seen, and that was Sister Selza. Sister Selza taught the first grade for 58 years, and she had one class that had 72 children. Sister Selza was a very gentle, very kind, very loving, very respected teacher. She influenced the lives of countless people, and on the bulletin board over there, and I forget how many people, I think it said 30 or 40 families where there were 3 generations that all had Sister Selza. And I'm sure that Sister Selza is here in spirit tonight with us. And I think it's most appropriate that we recognize her for the great, great contribution she made to all of us. And there's so many of us had her as our first grade teacher. Father Kramer mentioned before that he was here during a transition period when the St. Patrick's School, St. Patrick's Parish was merged with St. Boniface into St. Mary's. Edwin Hession wrote a very nice article on that, and I assume that some of you have not read it, and I'm going to speak a little bit from that article because a lot of us were very close to that whole situation. We had 2 Catholic churches in Melrose and 2 Catholic parishes. We had the Irish Church, and as it was always called, St. Patrick's Irish Church. We had the German church, which was called the St. Boniface. There were a large number of Irish families in Melrose at one time. During the railroad days, there were many Irish families, and as the railroad division pulled out, there were less and less of those families, but there still was a nucleus of Irish families here who had a very nice parish here in Melrose. And you've got to remember that in those days, those early days, the Germans spoke German. My dad told me that they were instructed to speak German on the playground. They couldn't speak German in class because the Irish were in the classroom, but they spoke German on the playgrounds. Anyway, Father Julich came to be the pastor at St. Patrick's, and they had their church down in the basement of a school building, which was not terribly satisfactory. And they accumulated some money and wanted to build a new church. Father Julich went to the bishop to ask permission to build a new church, and the bishop said, no, don't build a new church. In fact, close the one you got and merge with St. Boniface. This was devastating, devastating news to that Irish parish. Maybe it was devastating news to the German parish, I don't know. But there was 2 different parishes here, folks, and they were terribly independent. And Father Julich was appointed as the pastor of the new St. Mary's Parish. This was an extremely difficult and delicate task that he had. I don't know how anyone else could possibly have done the job. Tonight when we sang the Grosser Gott, I thought, how'd you like to tell these Irish folks now to start singing Grosser Gott? You know, believe it, that's a heck of a pill to swallow if you're Irish. So, I think that Father Julich was an unusual priest and man. He would be my definition of a humble man. He was very active in the community, in civic events. He was on the first hospital board that built our new hospital. He was an avid golfer. He raised honeybees. He was a fisherman. But above all, he was a wonderful priest and a wonderful man. And as I said, if I had the credentials, I'd place his name and nomination for sainthood right now. Okay, folks, enough of that. This is 1990. This is, we're here today celebrating our reunion, and times are difficult now, too, in many respects. Here at St. Mary's, we've got, in the city of Melrose, we've got a parish that requires an awful lot of work. We have the congregate care facilities and the nursing home with a lot of elderly people, and elderly people deserve and need a lot of spiritual help. We've got St. Mary's School here, and the pastor, obviously, has got to be greatly involved in keeping St. Mary's a viable, good educational institution. We've got the youth in our parish that need attention badly if we're going to keep them in the church. In addition to all those things, we've got people, good Catholic people, who have a very traditional, conservative type approach towards the faith. And we have people whose approach is less conservative, more liberal, who want changes. And we have groups of people approaching their religion in their own individual way, so that to be pastor for a parish like Melrose is no easy task. We're really fortunate now that we have, I think, a man for the 90s, a priest for the 90s. A priest has come into our parish and into our midst who's badly needed, very welcome, very qualified. I think that Father Ralph Zimmerman is an unusual man, an unusual priest. And it's a great privilege and a great honor for me tonight to ask Father Zimmerman to come up here and to greet you for 2 minutes or 3.
Bill, thank you very much. Asking a priest to talk 2 minutes or 3 is like, I'm not sure what, but like asking a lawyer to do it? Okay. I'd like to send both you and Dr. Horn to the seminary, to Divinity School, because you both make very good candidates for that. I've never been called a man for the 90s, and Bill, you've really touched something very, very, I'm at a loss for words, believe it or not. I'm a newcomer to Melrose because I did come only as pastor last fall, and at that time I told everybody, I said, give me at least a year to get to know the parish, and you would give me another year to get to know you. So I'm still in that stage of being acclimated to the parish. There is Stearns County blood in my veins, however, and I am a native of St. Cloud, so I know what that means. And I've been told by some of my brother priests about the strong faith of the Melrose community, and I was a little reluctant, to be very honest with you, when Bishop Jerome asked me a year ago if I would come. Anyway, the idea of this reunion is a wonderful one because it touches something very deeply to me. Memories as people are very, very important, and we're cherishing. I've been listening. I've just been, in fact, I almost got late for supper because I was visiting so much with everyone. I wanted to hear the stories that you people have, and you had a history. You've got a connection to this community, and I'm really privileged to be able to host, to be part of the host team. I wrote a letter. If you have to see it, a welcome in the bulletin. I don't want to read that now, but I want you just to be aware of it. And I did it in the letter, mention some of the points that have been brought up. Mary is still keeping the peace between the Irish and the Germans, and she's doing very well. And I looked for the Gaelic words to Grosser Gott, but I could not find them. So to all the Irish people, well, we couldn't find the Gaelic. I don't know if I could even pronounce it anyway. It's been a wonderful time to be able to gather, and I appreciate all of you coming from California and from near and far. because what we're doing this weekend is reconnecting the memories that bring us here. I would like to recognize some of the people who have not been asked to get to stand, but I want to love to do this to people. Will the sisters who are here, please, would you just stand and let us see you and let us recognize you and let us thank you. Sisters, teachers, and alumni. Please stand. Sisters? Okay, thank you. Take a bow, take a bow. I was educated back at St. Cloud by Benedictines, and I've had the privilege to know many Franciscans also along the way, and many school sisters of Notre Dame. When I get to the kingdom of heaven, I'm going to run to meet two people. First of all, my family, but two people I want to meet that I've not met formally yet, and that is Sisters Selza Hyder and Francis Julich. I've been hearing so much about them, and maybe Julius Adi too. He used to write me some pretty nasty letters when I was a visitor. Julius. Again, that's more than 2 minutes, but it's getting take my time. Another minute, another 30 seconds, Bill says. Thank you very much for all of you for coming to Melrose this weekend, for being part of a historic event, and event which has been wonderful. And I'd like to thank personally the committee members who make the pastor look very good when they put together such a wonderful program, even though he's gone the week before everything comes together. So I appreciate all the committee, people, all the work, the thousand details you have attended to over from the beginning a year ago. Thank you very, very much. And please enjoy tomorrow's events. Please take as much time as you can to visit, tell your stories. Tell me some of them if we can get a chance to visit. And please come back to Melrose as much as you can. There's always a place at St. Mary's for you. And thank you also for the, and many of you have mentioned this already, many of you have mentioned this, there was an electric presence. There was an energy in that assembly tonight, and I felt it here a few other times before too. But everything was there. The young people understand when you say that cooked, that means it was going well. Well, we were cooking a little bit because it was warm, but thank you for that wonderful assembly of prayer, and take that with you tomorrow. Visit again. We'll be having breakfast and time in the park. Thank you for coming back home to Melrose. Thank you for those of you who are here in Melrose, and I am very, very, very privileged and proud to call Melrose my home. God bless us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father. That was great.
Can I say one more thing? Father Tim Baldus and I are not twins, but we like to call ourselves that. Notice, though, who has the grayer hair. Notice. Father Tim was born about 3 months before I was, back in 1950. But notice when you see him next, who has the grayer hair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, a name that I forgot to mention before, for some of the folks my age and older, is Jake Walter. I'm sure many of you remember Jake and his wonderful voice, and they filled our church with great music. And there are so many folks that, you know, to mention names like Vi Burns, who was playing organ tonight, and I don't know if Leo and Joni are still here, who have been the mainstays of our choir. And is Vern Anything here? Vern, are you here tonight? Well, Lorraine, Sister Lorraine, we'll get him tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to wrap this up, folks, and I want to thank you very much for coming here tonight. This has truly been and is a great experience to have this reunion. And I know that the reason that all of you are here is for the same reason I'm here, is because we're very proud of our origin of our school system here. All of us got our start here. I mean, when we left our families for the first time at 5 or 6 years old, this is where we went out into the world. And I think that it's very important that we acknowledge that we're really fortunate that this school has survived. St. Mary's, as you know, is not just a parochial elementary school. It's a very good parochial elementary school. And that's why it has survived. This is a quality school. And while thousands and thousands of Catholic parochial elementary schools have had to close, we fortunately have been able to keep this school open. Right now, the school, I think, is as good as it's ever been. Maybe it's better, I don't know, but it's good. And I think it's important, folks, that we renew our loyalty and our dedication to our wonderful school system here. I think that all of us will acknowledge that we were fortunate to have had this school system in place for us to go to school. And I think that it will continue. But I think we should all remember and be loyal to our alma mater, the good old St. Pat's, St. Barnabas, St. Mary's School. I'd like to ask a question. How many here are St. Patrick's school graduates? Oh, Mr. Siskotsky, are you the only one? Father Art Hoppy? I'd like to read a poem in finishing here about St. Patrick's Church. Do you remember the church basement church? Okay, you do? You remember, you know who John Hassler is, the author, Minnesota author, who has written some very, very, well, he's a nationally known author, written some very nice books. John Hassler lived in Melrose, he taught in Melrose a long time ago, and he wrote a poem, a very short poem, regarding St. Patrick's basement church, which I'd like to read to you because I think it's quite touching. It's called A Study of Values, a sonnet written for the Church of St. Patrick of Melrose, Minnesota. Each early winter morning is overcome by will, as faithful kin come crisply in, stiffened by the chill. Since Mass is in the basement, the floor is a little cold, and the stairway leading downward to God is worn and old. There are churches much more stately, cathedrals built so tall. They are marveled at and visited repeatedly by all, but none of them, I care not where, lend themselves so well to prayer. This is John Hassler wrote this verse. He wrote this for Nettie Meyer and Father Julich when he was here. Folks, we're looking forward to seeing all of you tomorrow. I got a bunch of hugs coming yet. So have you. And you got something, Mary Ellen?
Bill's been bragging all night about being this great hugger. Well, tomorrow, let's see improvement. The best huggers come from Melrose, Minnesota. My Alan, get yours too.
Thank you very much, Mary Ellen. And folks, tomorrow we've got a nice program. Ernie Kachumba is going to take over the job of Master of Ceremonies tomorrow down the park. We have a newly formed Melrose Community Band that's going to make one of its, well, we've played once before. This is going to be our second performance. The Melrose Clown Band is going to be there. Ernie, are you here? Is there any announcement that you'd like to make about tomorrow's program? Have I covered? Is there anything else? Refreshments will be served. Beer, breakfast will be served here tomorrow morning. Beg a pardon? Oh, and the German band is going to play tomorrow. You're all invited. Bring your friends, spouses, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, all.